Hey guys, this is BBluffzinc, aka BBZ for BBZStaking, and today we have Connor B's final table of the Sunday Million, which he just recently shipped on July 21st, I believe. So recording this just a couple days later, and we are going to just get into some of the action and take a look at some of the hands that were played and get a discussion going. So with that, let's just see how some of these hands get played. So I agree with the raise first in with King 10 suited. See what Ace King suited chooses to do. Get a 3-bet. And a fold, which I'm pretty sure this is the final table, and I think that that's a pretty reasonable fold to make. I wouldn't have hated if you tried to 4-bet or something, but folding seems good, particularly with these stacks. Looks like we have some tight play going on with that 10-7 suited. Again, I think the King 10 suited opens just fine. See what our man Connor does with Queen Jack suited. I can imagine he's going to open. Big blind should at least call. Might get some other action, but I doubt it. Connor's probably going to bet. I don't mind larger bets. I don't think checking's really appropriate in this situation. So with this hand class, I think larger c-bet sizings for Connor should be fine. And we'll see what he does. Something like 1.4 would be okay. He could overbet if he wants to, but I don't think he's going to do that. He does check. I'm not a huge fan, but I don't hate it. I think I can mute this. I think pre-flop defending ranges would be too tight to check too much here with this hand class. I just think that the pre-flop defending range for the big blind should be stripped of 3x for the most part. And as a result of reaching that conclusion, I think your opponent has kind of a 9 or nothing, and there are a lot of asymmetries on this flop. There's lots of duplication around queens and jacks, and I don't really think I would have checked this hand. So this hand also doesn't improve after having checked back. It's not like he has a backdoor flush draw. He's worried about bet folding or something. So I would have preferred to see him c-bet. But again, I don't know anything about this player. Maybe this guy's super nuts or something. And we're going to fold the turn, presumably. Although I could see, somebody making an argument for 2-betting or something like insane, but I wouldn't do that and I wouldn't recommend it. Raising aces is not complicated. I think we're going to get a bunch of folds. It's fine. Expect manu to open. Expect everybody else to basically fold. Again, expecting manu to open, expecting pretty much everyone else to fold. Connor makes an open. I'm fine with that. I mean, it's definitely too wide, but he's probably got a big edge on this table and feels like his opponents are too tight, not 3-betting enough. Case in point, manu folds ace 10 suited. I think that's a understandable line to have taken with pocket eights. I don't think it's the right line necessarily, but I don't think it's something that is easy to be critical of. I'm not a huge fan of this line either. I'd probably shove or call pre-flop here. I don't think that 3-betting non-all-in is the best answer with ace king offsuit in this scenario. I think this is a fine-ish line with ace king off here. I think larger c-bet sizings are probably better, but It's not definitively bad. He should probably be double barreling the turn after having bet flop with this exact variation of ace king. I'm not surprised to see him check. It's a common line. In position should either
You
bet
need to
small or
understand
check.
that everything you do at the poker table
And
conveys information.
We're gonna skip this because Daniel's cool and everything, but he's not the reason we're doing this. And I think the big blind can shove and check and bet like 420k, and anything he does will basically be fine. I don't have a critical perspective on the big blind's river play. I think he should have bet the turn, but don't mind Connor checking. Two bet and call are both going to be like okay. I'd prefer raising for the most part. Out of position is going to fold mostly, but elects to call. I would continue barreling if I was Connor. On a card like this, top pair probably won't be folding much, and flush draws will continue depending on sizing. Connor gets lots of value, needs lots of protection against both flush draws. The fact that the second one came in gives Connor both lots to bluff with and his opponent lots to call with, so I'd expect to see betting. Particularly at this SPR 4-1. I'm not surprised that pot was the sizing chosen. Out of position needs to fold unless he really believes Connor's just taking the piss. That's not really a very good check jam, in my opinion. I mean, I get like he can make some assumptions that make it good. He can make some assumptions like Connor's bluffing way too much, I guess. Although it gets close to just calling your hand in that scenario, which is it's pretty hard, I think, to shove the turn. I think it's gonna be pretty hard against PSB there. So, I'm not a fan of that jam. I'm trying to be generous because I'm not the one playing their hands and they have reads on their opponents and everything. So I try to be generous with being empathetic with the lines that they take, but I'm not a fan of that one. I think the ace-10 offsuit open is fine. Connor's in the small blind. I think with this distribution, this is a reasonable hand to open, so I think that's fine. I think defending the big blind with ace-3 offsuit is probably a bad idea. I would classify this as a mistake. This player is just way too short, and it's going to be way too challenging to try to realize equity with a hand like ace-3 offsuit across streets against this stack when you have this stack. So like this guy is literally in Fuckville. I mean, he's got to deal with this player being relatively short, this player being extremely short, this player being relatively short, and he's basically tied for third place with these two stacks here, three stacks, I guess. So this is just a really miserable spot to find yourself in, and this equity flops in a way that can kind of counter that a little bit, but because when you make top pair, your opponent's either dead if he's bluffing too much. But I just think he should fold pre-flop. I think this is a mistake. He could 3-bet pre-flop, I suppose, but I think calling is probably not good enough. Unless he knows this player's really passive or something. Again, I'm not really a huge fan of flop check as in position. I don't like that turn sizing. I think it's too small. And this is also too small, even though he probably feels like this is fucking huge. It's probably too small, so. I'm not really sure how optimistic this guy was when he flatted his ace-3 offsuit pre-flop. But this is the type of situation you're going to find yourself in when you flat ace-3 offsuit pre-flop, and this is the best case scenario. So a fan of the pre-flop flat. I think his river call's fine. So, calling river, whatever, sure. I'd call too, probably. I wouldn't have gotten there because I would have folded pre, but I don't think his river call was the mistake. Call from the big blind with king queen, pretty obvious. Ace 5 offsuit jam was also fine, so this is going to be a cooler. Oh my god. Oh man. Manu. That's not a fold, buddy. If you're watching this, Manu, that hand was not a fold. This is actually probably close with nines, but I mean, like Connor's got 28K, so I'd imagine I would just call too. I don't think I would ever fold either, but it's probably like it should probably be kind of close, but I'd call. So. If you think this is going kind of quickly as far as the replayer goes, we do have it set to 2x speed, which is definitely helpful for speeding things up. Pretty standard open with the king 9 suited. It's gonna be a pretty standard call with sixes. Sixes might want to jam. Depends on your perspective on this player's race first in, but I don't think it's a very good idea with the type of equity sixes flops and the way this spot's supposed to work post flop as far as pressure goes from in position. And the stack size of Excalibris, I think that this is mostly a mistake. I think when you 3-bet to this type of sizing, you want to use blockers. So I think he wants to use hands like king 6 offsuit or something. Blocking ace king or whatever. I don't, king 6 suited maybe, but I don't think he wants to use sixes. I don't see any strategic reason to incorporate a hand like that, so I would classify that as being mostly a mistake. I think the sizing's fine. So I think some people would think like the sizing's too small in that scenario and you shouldn't use that type of sizing. I think that sizing's okay, but I don't like the hand class that he's doing it with. Connor should basically be jamming. Wouldn't surprise me if he calls, but he should just shove. Connor's a smart guy, so, like he's got his reasons, but I've got mine. I think he should have jammed. I think checking the river is the only real line there. I think everybody, Geraldo might decide to felt ace jack offsuit here. I'd probably think that's a bad idea. I think Connor should just call. This will depend on sizing. Okay. I'd probably check twice, but the 10 is extraordinarily good for the small blind flat, so I wouldn't have minded a bet. But I do think check is mostly the best answer. I don't mind underbetting as Connor in this. Yeah, I think that's a fine answer. I think in position should just call. Connor was trying to thinly value bet ace queen and ace jack. He wasn't bluffing, so the other guy folded sixes. Okay. Some guys are special, I guess. Still money in poker, guys. Still money in poker. In position gets very dense, the ace queen and the ace jack there when he checks down like that. Connor probably expected probes from pairs like the hand his opponent had on the turn, and so Connor was making a very thin value bluff, but mostly a value bet, and got sixes to fold, which is a huge W, but that wasn't the reason the bet was made, although it's a fucking hell of a win. It's a really wide open. I think that this table seems sufficiently weak that I wouldn't challenge him on it, but it's probably good. Like it's almost Like I think that the button raise first in this scenario with this distribution is probably around 75% to 80%, which would probably surprise some people. It's kind of tough with the small blind having 15, whatever, 13. Maybe it's more like with the big blind. If they're both on 20, that's what it would be. With the small blind on 13, maybe it's more like 65 or 55 or something. I'm not exactly sure. That's from the button. So Connor's open with king 2 offsuit. It's certainly understandable. It's fine. I'm not a huge fan of limp first in with 7-8 suited in this distribution. I don't hate it, but I don't anything it. I think it's whatever. Flop check seems fine. I'd probably check as big hoops and check, and I'd probably stab as min re-raise, but I'm fine with checking. That's not bad. That seems okay. See if we can't get like, we'll go for a little bit longer. See if we can't get a bit more out of this. Did we pause it accidentally? No. Oh, is there a break? Looks like there's a break. So we're expecting Manu to open, but he's probably not going to because Manu seems tight. All right, so min re-raise LFIs again from EP. Pretty interesting. Don't hate it. Don't love it either. So don't anything it. It's whatever, but I probably wouldn't have done it. Easy fold. Can't call. Not close. Jakob or whatever, I would have opened that hand. This is whatever. It's kind of tough. It's kind of tough. I think in this exact spot with this player having 5 million, this hand gets actually much more debatable. I don't think it's a bad shove. I think this shove's fine. So bon voyage. Not a mistake, but close with this player having 5 million over here. When you know this player is as tight as he is, though, I think you need to shove that hand. Like if you could see this and you could see how tight this guy was, this guy is just never going broke before him. So if you see how tight this guy is, I guess shoving king 10 offsuit's like the nuts. So I would have open jammed Jack 10 suited in this distribution. 3 million up here. Yeah, that makes the king 10 offsuit really close. I didn't even see this guy's stack. Yeah, the king 10 offsuit might have been a mistake before for this guy, with this guy so short too. Super close spot though. No, I don't fault him. We could stab, we could check. I'm fine with whatever we do. I'd call. I might raise. At least call, potentially raise. Not gonna be check folding suited aces with backdoor flush. Like not gonna be check folding ace high with backdoor flush draws, blind versus blind there. I also think you should have just shoved pre. So not a huge fan. We'll call it here. So thanks for checking us out, guys. Appreciate you listening in, and you can find more from us at BBZStaking.com. You can also check us out at Facebook, BBZStaking. And thanks again. Talk to you guys later. Cheers, boys. Bye.